It's kind of like when you're out hiking with a group of people and you come across a big old bear. And that bear is looking at the group. You just want to make sure that you're not the last person or the sacrificial lamb for the group of hikers. Anode rod, kind of like the same thing. It's going to get attacked. It's going to get eaten. And today, I'm going to show you how I go about changing it out.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hey everybody, it's Chris, and I'm one half of Tripping with the Chris's. Today I've got to work on the RV a little bit, so I thought I'd bring you along with me. One of the things I have to do is change out the anode rod on the hot water heater. Now our hot water heater is a Suburban hot water heater, and it does take the anode rod. Not all hot water heaters for RVs use anode rods, but I think most of the Suburbans use anode rods. An anode rod is an aluminum rod that's placed inside the hot water heater. And it's kind of like a sacrificial lamb. So any of the hard water, any electrolysis, anything that's going on inside the water tank that would naturally attack metal and cause it to rust, maybe get some pinholes, attacks the aluminum rod first. It's kind of like when you're out hiking with a group of people and you come across a big old bear. And that bear is looking at the group. You just want to make sure that you're not the last person or the sacrificial lamb for the group of hikers. Anode rod, kind of like the same thing. It's going to get attacked. It's going to get eaten. And today I'm going to show you how I go about changing it out. So let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things with my hot water heater is that I keep my hot water heater on electric. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm coming over to my panel, I'm switching the water heater off. That's going to turn off the water heater inside the tank so that I don't get any more hot water. So since I'm not going to get any more hot water, I'm coming over to the sink. I'm turning the hot water on, and I'm just going to let the hot water run until it turns cold. Then once it turns cold, we'll go outside. All right, so I turn the water heater off. We run our water heater strictly on electric. I don't use propane or anything like that. So all I had to do is hit the button to turn off the water heater. I turned on the hot water. It took about 15-20 minutes. So I have no more hot water in the tank. All cold water is coming out. So I went outside, turned the water off to the trailer. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I have a splitter, a brass splitter coming off the water faucet. So I turned the water off that goes to the trailer. I kept the water going on to my auxiliary hose. So now all we got to do is, if any of you guys really don't know where your water heater is, you have the big exhaust coming out for your furnace. Okay, so, the big exhaust coming out for your water heater. Twist the little tab, pull out, lift up, ta-da! Here is your water heater. Okay, let me put this up real quick. Okay, so water heater's cool. No hot water in here. Shouldn't be any hot water. Pressure relief valve is right here. This is your pressure relief valve. Go ahead and pop the pressure relief valve just in case there's any pressure in here. You don't want to. Here's where your anode rod goes, is right down here. just in case there's any pressure built up. You don't want to take this out with any pressure built up inside your water heater tank. Go ahead and pop that. Let the water drain out. Right? Water's all drained out. Any pressure that's up here or up in here, it's all good. I leave this open just in case. All right. Let me go get my socket. Okay, so here's my socket. This is the one thing that I put together. So I went and I got a little cheap ratchet, cheap extender. It's an 1 1/16 socket is what is needed to take off the anode rod inside the water heater. Okay, 1/16. I keep all this together. I don't use any of this except for the water heater anode rod, and the reason is because it's an 1 1/16 socket, and I'm only buying one. Okay, I'm not going to go buy a whole bunch, so I just keep this all together. And then just remember, American threads, everything, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Go ahead and take off the anode rod, and then after I pull this out, there's gonna be a lot of water coming out, but after I pull it out, we'll show you the difference between the new anode rod and this anode rod. And this anode rod has been in probably about 8-9 months. Okay, as you can see, we've got a pretty good sized water tank. Water's out. Now it's time to start the rinse out process. So I kind of do mine a little different. I take the water hose and I have a 1/4 turn ball valve on the end. I stick it in here and I get a good flow of water going in and pulling out all the big stuff. Once I do that 2 or 3 times, and I come back in with a water heater wand. I'll show you that in a few seconds. But let's get the tank cleaning underway. When I let this out, when I let this go, we get to water, you might be able to see some of the big chunks coming out if you didn't see it already. Hey, and since I'm doing this, we're in the Willis, Texas area, and man, I am telling you, it's a beautiful day outside. I don't know that I'd be doing this in the winter when it's freezing outside or cold, really super cold or anything like that, just because you do get a little wet. But man, I'm telling you what, today, beautiful fall day. All right, now that I've got that flushed out 2-3 times really good with the really high volume water, this is your water tank clean out rod right here. You can see that it's curved inside. Stick it in with pointy in, pointing down. Stick it in there all the way. I go back as far as I can. You turn it on. Then I just kind of wiggle it back and forth right there. And once we get some water flowing out, then I'll start pulling it out just a little bit at a time and start pulling whatever's in the back. We'll start moving all that stuff forward and hopefully out the front. Okay, so I don't see any more little white specks coming out, which is the white specks that's the anode, the aluminum anode rod after the electrolysis or whatever happens to it in the water tank when it's heating and all that stuff. Kind of turns into like little white chips or whatever. So, and I don't see any more coming out. And then I can stick my finger in there and I can touch the bottom up there near the rim. And I don't really feel anything in the bottom of the water heater either. Okay, so now that we've got this all cleaned out, before I put the anode rod in, I want to show you the old anode rod versus the new anode rod. All right, like I was talking about, I want it, before I put the new anode rod in, right? This is my aluminum anode rod. This one's I bought it. It's a Suburban made anode rod for the Suburban water heaters. This is the new one. This is the old one I just pulled out. You can see how all the aluminum's being eaten away through electrolysis, through the chemical reaction that's going on in your water heater. And this one is 8-9 months old, somewhere right around there. It's still got a little bit of time, but you know what? All this kind of stuff, man, kind of breaks up and it gets into your water and then your faucet filters, stuff like that. So, every 6-8 months I try to change mine. This is, I don't know, the third or fourth one that I've changed out since I've had the trailer. So anyways, just remember, if you don't change out your anode rod, this is what it looks like. And then you can see down here at the bottom, you got this hard, I think it's like a stainless steel rod that the aluminum sits on, right? Eventually all this will go away. Remember, change out your anode rod every 6 to 8 months, especially if you're full-timers like we are. If you just come in on the weekends, you go camping for a week or during the summer or whatever, probably don't have to change this out near as often. But as a full-timer, you definitely want to change this out every 6 to 8 months. Okay, so let's go install the nice, new, bright, shiny anode. Okay, new anode. Hey, the one thing also I like about Suburban, when they do their anode rods, they already put the Teflon tape on you. You don't have to worry about putting the Teflon tape on, right? One other thing I want to say is that the Suburban nut for the anode rod is an inch and a 1/16, okay? This whole setup, I don't use it for anything but changing out my anode rod. And I keep it in my little, it's like my little trailer catch-all bucket that I keep in my basement. So, okay, one other thing. American threads, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Maybe that way. I know it's that way for, I guess, you know what? Really and truly, the only thing that's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey that I can think of is natural gas. So, and gas. So, I guess pretty much everything's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The one thing you want to be careful of when you're doing this is you want to be sure that you don't cross thread your threads. One other thing, I've never had an easy time of doing this. See, that's what I'm telling you, man. I just, for some reason, I have a hard time doing this. I do have it in there. So now, all we're gonna do is crank it up. All right, and I get it. When I tighten it up, I tighten it up to, I tighten it up to, I'm not gonna break it, but when it goes down the road, it's not going to vibrate. I think that's pretty good on the tightness. I know there's probably like a torque wrench tightness on it or whatever. I don't know what it is, but we're going to come back and we're going to check to make sure that we're not leaking water anyways. Okay, now that it's tight, remember, relief valve is open. I keep the relief valve open so that any of the air that's in the tank will come out the relief valve. Once I start getting a little bit of water coming out of here, most of the air's out, I'll come back and I'll close it. Okay, so I'll be right back. I'm going to turn the water on. Keep an eye on that for me. Okay, you see we got the water coming out of the pressure relief valve. Go ahead and shut her down. Before the water came out, I did dry this up. There wasn't any water here. Now that I have the pressure relief valve off, I'm going to dry it off again. Remember, the water heater tank isn't pressurized yet. It'll start pressurizing once the water's heated, okay? One other thing, because I use the electricity to heat it up and it goes through the electric heating element in there, you've got to make sure that you turn it off and keep it off The fastest way to burn out an electrical heating element is by having it on without any water in your tank. Okay, so let's dry this up real quick. Okay, time to put the cover back on. Okay, now on these covers for the Suburban water heaters, the cover, it's got two little holes right here. You got these two little knobs right here, slide right on. Push it through your little tab, and down you go. That is changing out your anode. So I know some of you out there are looking at the cover of this and you're like going, Chris, what is this aluminum cage going over your vent? And I'm going to tell you what this aluminum cage is going over my vent. This is my bug cover. Mud daubers love looking for openings. There are openings in here if you're going to use your propane or whatever. There are openings for your gas to go in there. Mud daubers love going in, finding places like that, filling it up with mud. Filling it up with mud. So you put this little grate on over here. I have it on my water heater. I have it on my my heaters. My heaters are on the other side, and I also have it on the louver for the microwave. So, and everybody should have one, and it doesn't matter whether you're full-time, part-time, go out on the weekends, go out for a week or whatever. If you have openings into your trailer for water heater or whatever, make sure you get the bug covers put on it. Helps out greatly. All right, let's go finish this up and just do a little bit of talk on what we did real quick. Okay, just gonna go over a little preview of what we just did. We changed out the anode rod in the Suburban water heater for my RV. Remember, this is what the old one looks like. This is about 8 months old. I change mine out every 6 to 8 months. I think the recommendation from Suburban is once a year. I just know that where we stay at, the water's pretty hard. So go ahead, don't forget to change this out. Remember, turn the heat, whatever heating element you're using, whether it's propane, electric, or both, turn those off. Turn the hot water on, drain all that hot water out, and get the cold water inside that tank. Once you have the hot water, once the hot water's empty and you have cold water coming out of the hot water side, go out, turn the pressure relief valve on, make sure you don't have any pressure built up into your hot water tank. Unscrew your anode rod. Remember, it's lefty-loosey. Pull that out. You get this. Take your nice, bright, shiny, new anode rod, put it in. I hope you have an easier time putting it in than I do. I always have a hard time doing it. Remember, righty-tighty. If your anode rod does not come with Teflon tape, make sure you put Teflon tape on it. I get the Suburban anode rods. I picked them up at the local RV store, and it already has the Teflon tape on it. Remember, don't over tighten it, don't cross thread it. I don't even know what would happen if you cross thread it. The only thing I can think of is that if you cross thread your anode rod, you're buying a whole new water heater tank. So do not cross thread it. And until then, remember, I am Chris. I'm one half of Tripping with the Chris's. We would love it if you guys came along for our journey. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And until next week, speaking of next week, I'm not sure what's going on next week. I'm going to tell you though that this week, you guys are watching me change out the anode rod. I'm really in Disney World. Shh, don't tell anybody. Surprise for the next coming episodes. Anyways, take care everybody. We'll see you next week when I don't know what kind of video I'm putting out. So, take care. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Talk to you later. Bye.